Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Uncle Matt here. Surprise live stream back live for the first time in over a month. I think the last time I did a live stream, it was right at the end or when the official announcement came through that BJ Callahan was going to be the new Nashville SC manager. We're a little over a month ago since we did that and been trying to get to the point of coming back and do this. I think every time I've done a live stream recently, I've been like, oh, I'm going to start doing these more. I'm going to get on a regular schedule. I'm going to have these coming, and then it just fades away, never happens. Life's been kind of crazy off camera the last few months, so it's not been as easy to do stuff like this, find a schedule to do things like this. But I'm not going to promise. I'm not going to guarantee. I'm not going to even say what the schedule might be, but I'm going to attempt once again get back to doing these live streams with somewhat regularity, try to keep up with them now. Just to give you guys a heads up what's going on right now, I'm watching the end of Vandy, Virginia Tech right now, tie ball game. Vandy's driving down, trying to get in a field goal range for a potential game-winning field goal for a huge upset start season. Obviously, I'm riding with the Doors, the one true Nashville college football team. No orange in this house. We are in field goal range based on where the line to gain is that ESPN has put up. But knowing Vandy, I don't trust any lineage. I don't trust any yardage. Picking up a few more. Looks like we're going to be down to about the 25-ish yard line. Clock's going to tick down. We'll take a timeout, bring it down to about 3 seconds left, bring the kicker out, see if we can get a win here in week one of college football. Would be huge for Vandy, would be huge for Clark Lee. I'm assuming Virginia Tech, maybe they're going to take a timeout here to freeze the kicker. You're getting some great unexpected live commentary because this game just dragged on into when I was planning on jumping on and doing the live streams. So we're getting live instant reactions to my Commodores anchor down, trying to steal that still one. They kind of dominated the first half, so I wouldn't even say still one, but pull up a pretty shocking upset. I think Virginia Tech, I've heard a lot of people were talking about them as like even maybe a dark horse contender to win the ACC this year. So not a lot of expectations on Vandy. Haven't really done much in the post-James Franklin years. A couple good years under Derek Mason. Clark Lee, he's in year, I think, 3. This is kind of the year where you'd expect if he's building anything, if he's getting any progress, if he's getting anything done, this is where you'd see some signs. Getting a win, getting an upset over here over Virginia Tech would be a huge step in the right direction, but there's a very good possibility of same old Vandy popping up right here. Field goal attempt. Much longer than I'm comfortable a kicker taking at the college level, at least. See what happens here. Are we going to get a timeout before the kick? We do. Virginia Tech takes their timeout. Ice the kicker. A little bit longer to go. Thanks for watching. If you're watching or if you're joining us, we'll get into some stuff that we need to chat about here as soon as this game wraps up. Because it's been, like I said, it's been a while since we did a live stream. Lots happened. A lot going on in the Nashville SC universe. Obviously, college football is up and running, which is huge. I love college football. Titans 1 week away from kickoff for the NFL season. A lot of hope, a lot of excitement around this Titans team this season. We'll see if it plays out on the field. We'll chat about that a little bit as we get going here. But this little first stretch here, sorry to have jumped in and immediately not gotten into what I was planning on doing, but got to ride with my Doors, anchor down. We got to make this field goal. We got to win this game. Start off the season on the right foot. That's a bit of a pun because it's a right-footed kicker here. 43-yard attempt. That is just not – they were saying it's in his range, but at the college level, I'm never comfortable with anything like that for a kicker. Here we go. Live commentary. Snap good, hold good, kick is up. Missed it wide. Oh, my God, wide right. Going to overtime. Yep. Knew it. Knew that was not a safe range. Knew that was not a safe kick. Not for any college kicker, but especially not for a Vanderbilt college kicker. Richard Greenberg's jumped in. What's up, Richard? Good to see you. Long time no see. Saw you were at a fair or something like that ahead of a recent Toronto FC game. Looked like a fun time. It's weird. Nashville SC is at the fairgrounds now here in Nashville, but I don't know if we've ever had a fair that was going on at the same time as a Nashville SC match. That'd be a fun thing. Get to ride the bucket rides, eat some fried Oreos, go to a Nashville SC match. We should try to coordinate that here in Nashville. That looked like a fun time I saw you had there on Twitter there, Richard. Ugh. Overtime for Vandy, same old Vandy, typical crap. We're going to blow this in overtime. Although Virginia Tech's quarterback did look like he was not healthy coming off on their last offensive drive. Like, looked like, I don't know, it could have been cramps or if he had an injury. I couldn't really tell. He was being assisted off the field there, so that could have an implication as we go into overtime. But we'll see what happens. I'll keep you abreast of the situation. As this goes on into overtime. It could be another 30, 40 minutes. Who knows with the way college football works now. But we're back live stream. Obviously, if you follow the channel, one of the big things we cover, one of the big things we discuss, one of the big things we looked at is Nashville SC. They play tonight. They are at Orlando City. And I don't know when the schedule came out, if this didn't occur to me or just who knows what goes on in this brain of mine. But this was the ideal away day for me at Orlando, Labor Day weekend, holiday weekend, go down there, watch a Nashville SC match, hang out at the Disney parks, dream away day. Would have been perfect for me. But as kind of alluded to earlier, the last few months have been pretty chaotic off camera here in the world of Uncle Mad. So a travel day like that was just not going to be on the cards, unfortunately, this year. But it would have been perfect if the stars had aligned. This would have been an absolute perfect weekend to head down to Orlando, watch the boys in gold play, and get a little Disney, Universal, Orlando theme park excitement in there and have some fun while we're down there. We'd have to do some stuff because I certainly do not think the match tonight is going to be a fun one from a Nashville SC fan perspective. Richard chiming in here. TFC games are during CNE, Canadian National Exhibition. Big fair last 2 weeks of every August. I'm heading to tonight's game in a couple minutes. Awesome. Richard is, corresponded with me a little bit in some of the recent Nashville SC videos, kind of commiserating me because it's been a tough few years for Toronto. They've bounced back a little bit this year. It's probably would like to see them still do a little bit better, but it hasn't been kind of the doldrums that it had been for a couple years up there. And we're kind of going through that for really the first time ever in Nashville SC history, where we're just really scraping the bottom of the barrel. We're not there yet. We're not, wooden spoon, but I mean, we're on a 7, 8, 9 game losing streak. We can't be far off from getting ourselves into the conversation of being a potential wooden spoon team this season, which is just a complete disaster after all those years of us, teasing and mocking and making fun of Cincinnati. Oh, how the turntables, as Michael Scott famously would have said, have turned here. But it's just been the worst season, clearly in Nashville SC history. We've talked about it at length on the channel here, so I'll kind of try to zero in on some of the more recent developments, some of what's been going on, particularly since the last live stream. We, obviously BJ Callahan came in, so but it's been such a weird stop-start deal with his era, so we haven't really got a full taste of what maybe is going to be changes, what's the team going to look like under him. And you kind of would expect that we weren't going to ever really fully get that this season, because coming in mid-season, it's almost impossible for a manager to really, make that level of changes that they may or may not want to make. We had the 2 Leagues Cup games pretty much immediately eliminated from that, then had 2.5, 3 weeks off. Came back last week, the weird game against Austin with the Patrick Yazbak situation, which I'll discuss, popped up. Just weird times, some bright spots in that game, and then we're back down. Now we play Orlando today. 7 first-team players out through either injury, suspension, or otherwise. Then I think we have another 2-week break after this game, which is crazy. Somehow there's too much schedule congestion. And somebody pointed this out on Twitter. This isn't necessarily an original thought by me, but how is there all this concerns about schedule congestion to the point that only 8 teams could be in Open Cup, but Nashville SC is about to have their 3rd or 4th multi-week break over the course of the season. It's crazy. Richard chimes in with a very good question. Will Nashville SC fire management? They built that awful team. It's kind of a weird deal. It's kind of a hard question to answer because I think, it's not you can't really point to a bad signing like Ake Loba, our first, our second attempt. We haven't hit on the really key designated player striker position. That's been one we've been chasing. DeJohn Cadiz had moments but didn't work out long term. Ake Loba was a complete failure. Sam Surridge is It's still kind of touch and go what's going on with that. We're going to consider that a success or a failure. But outside of that, I think we've, by and large, I think you would say we've overachieved. I mean, going back to our first season, I mean, people were picking us to be dead last. Some people were thinking we were going to be one of the worst expansion franchises in Nashville SC history. So it's hard to like really get mad at management. I think maybe they rode their luck a little too long. Like instead of like, trying touchdown Vandy, they score first, draw first blood. Virginia Tech will get their shot now. I think maybe they rested on the early success too much. They didn't do enough to really chase a championship to like really, really go all in. Like, criticize Miami what you want for like what all they're doing, but they are clearly going for it. They are pulling out all the stops. Columbus has done that over the last couple of years. It kind of feels like Real Salt Lake is doing that. Like they know, like when you have that, especially like in MLS where like one player can make such a huge difference. If you've got that one player, and it felt like for at least a season or two we did with Hani, it feels like you really just got to pull all the strings, pull out all the stops, do whatever you can to like build around that player and really go all in. And I kind of think they more held firm, said, we like what we've got. Let's not rock the boat. Tried to take some swings on Akiloba, Sam Surridge, to a certain extent, but I think they were a little too steady. I don't know that, the team's kind of fallen apart. I think a lot of it, some players have hit the wall and kind of started to be the downswing on this second, on their age. Sean Davis, I think, has kind of started to lose a step. Obviously Dax, he's left now, but, he wasn't playing as much in his last year here as he was in the first few years. Dan Lovett's one of my favorite players. Love Dan, but I mean, he has clearly just been out of it this season, has not been up to the pace. Shaq Moore's having a weird season. Like he's not like playing weird. It's like he's lost focus. He's lost, the drive. And I thought maybe some of that was kind of to deal with like the weird influx coaches out. We have an interim coach, he's gone and new guys coming in. But even the like handful of games under BJ, it's kind of been the same from him, the kind of lackadaisical going through the motions out on the pitch type thing. So there's a lot of problems. I don't know if I can fully blame management. I wish they would have maybe like tried to go harder into really building a really stronger team instead of just kind of holding the fort. Who knows how much of that is a management decision? Who knows how much of that is, what did Gary want when he was still the manager? It's always an interesting dynamic to me in professional sports in general, is like how much of the team building comes from the team management, how much of it comes from the coach, how much of it is collaborative. So it's hard to say. I'm not ready to throw, Mike Jacobs, our general manager, out yet, just because I think, the first 4 years, didn't get any trophies is what the ultimate goal of soccer and sports are. But for an expansion team, they were a very successful 4 years. I'm willing to give him a shot to see if he can lead us through the rebuild, through the restructure, through this new era, through this Nashville SC 2.0 that they keep referring to it as pretty much every time he or BJ or Ian Ayre has a press conference discussing the future of the team. I'm willing to give him a shot to do it. That's how I kind of feel like you should do with management, unless like you just have a complete disaster of a roster. We've seen it as a Titans fan. We've seen it with the team. John Robinson got a chance to, fix the roster. He did it. We gave him a chance to sustain it, and it all fell apart. So I think Mike Jacobs is going to get a shot to restructure, rebuild, design the roster to a certain extent. Whatever, it's weird in MLS with the roster machinations. How much can you actually do? I think he deserves a shot to try and right the ship, but this time next year, we may be having a different conversation when it comes to him, especially because, he's got to bring in the new coach. He's giving him the opportunity. They have to be able to figure out, what those next steps are. Because, that's typically the sequence of things you see is like, we fired the coach. Now we're going to give the general manager a chance to fix his stuff. He goes next. And then if he goes and you're looking back at the coach, and it's just a vicious cycle that can kind of keep going and going and going. But I would stick with Mike Jacobs for at least one more season. I think he's earned it. I was a person who said, let Gary finish out the season. I think we're seeing now how much Gary really squeezed out of this roster, like how much they overachieved under his watch. 3rd and 6, sack. Virginia Tech going to a 4th down, has to get a touchdown to keep this game alive. It's going to be 4th and long, have to get a touchdown. Do they have space to get one more first down? 4th and 12, so they can get a first down, so it's not do or die, touchdown or die. they've had their backup quarterback in for this series. The starter, he was hurt. He hasn't come back in, but it looked like he was trying to limber up on the sideline to potentially come back in. We'll see what happens. Yeah, but like I was saying, I'm so sorry I keep getting distracted between this game and everything else going on. But I would stick with Mike Jacobs. I think, it was unfortunate. Gary Smith, got fired when he did. I think the team at that point in time felt like they had to do something, that the season was just going to really spiral if they didn't. And we got a little bit of a pop there for about 4 or 5 games, but it's, now, like I said, 7, 8, 9 straight games, whatever it is that we've lost, it's definitely falling apart. And I think we're seeing the seams, we're seeing the gaps, seeing the holes, we're seeing how much Gary Smith probably did to patch over the team. So I hope a lot of the fans that were kind of hating on Gary Smith will start to give him his flowers a little bit more now that we're kind of seeing maybe it wasn't all his fault. But yeah, I would stick with Jacobs, give him at least one more offseason to kind of hit the reset button. Another question from Richard: any chance you'll hit some Predators games this year? I love going to Predators games. It's been crazy the last couple of years. They've popped back up in popularity. Ticket prices have gotten crazy. So anytime I look to go and I'm like, do I really want to pay $300 for me and Jess to go to a hockey game on a random night? And I was, like I said, my schedule's always insane with my real life work stuff. So it's hard to find a time to go. I love going to Predators games. They're some of my favorite things to do. I think last season was one of the first seasons in a while I haven't managed to get out to a game at least once. Actually, I think we did go to one game. I think we went somewhere. Yeah, because Jessica's her cousin came into town, I think back in February or November, somewhere around there. He came in town and went to Predators game together. So we did go to one last year. I would love to go to all of them. When I was a kid and they first came here, my dad's company had season tickets to them. And my dad was one of the only people at the company, because it was a construction company. So it was a lot of, typical Tennessee, Nashville hillbilly guys who were like, well, hockey, I don't give a crap about hockey. So we got the tickets 90% of the time. So we basically had our own season tickets back then. But that's been years ago. So I try to go to at least 1 game season, 2 game season. I love going. They're always fun, even when I don't know who's on the team, when I'm not as up to speed with the Predators. Hockey's always a fun sport to watch. I always love watching it. So I'll definitely try to get to some Predators games this year. All right, 4th and 11. We're going to get the call on this, see what happens here. Hopefully Vandy gets a stop. Hopefully this is ball game, and then we can kind of just dive into everything else I wanted to chat about with Nashville SC and everything else. Snap. It's still the backup quarterback. He's scrambling. He's running around. He's looking for an option. Shoots it. Back of the end zone. Incomplete. No flags. That should be ball game. Vandy wins 34-27. Huge upset. Huge win. Year 3 of Clark Lee. Vandy. Wow. Didn't see that coming. Didn't think we were going to get that done. Anchor down. Who you with? VU. Is that backwards? VU. I can't tell if I'm backwards or not. All right. Huge win for Vandy. Back to Nashville SC. So tonight, Orlando, they were a lot of people's pick to have a pretty good season, to be a dark horse to maybe contend for the MLS Cup this season. And they've kind of struggled, not as much as Nashville SC, but they have not, had the season they expected to have, certainly. I've seen a lot of people, a lot of reports, a lot of previews I've read who cover more deeply, know more about Orlando, more about, Nashville, say this has a chance to be just a very unbearable, very unwatchable game. But we're actually going to this new bar in Nashville. They're hosting the official Nashville SC watch party tonight. And I'm really excited about it because it's a place that has been built specifically to be a soccer bar. We've got Irish pubs like Lost Patty where we watch a lot of Manchester United games. We got Fleet Street. But this is the first, what I would say is built with the idea of it's meant to be a soccer bar. They've been opening in the mornings for Premier League games. They're hosting this. It's called Fog Street Lawn Club. That's where we're going to be going tonight to watch the Nashville SC game as they take on Orlando City. It's hard to see a route forward for Nashville SC where they can get any kind of result in this game unless Orlando just somehow is worse. But I said it last week. I was Austin has had one of the worst seasons and they beat us. New England's one of the worst teams in the league. They beat us. We keep coming up against these teams where it's this is a good get right spot because this team's been struggling, and then they just go out and beat us. So it's not, there's no get right spot. We're terrible. We're not good. It's crazy. So in the game against Austin last week, we come out first 25, 30 minutes. Some of the, yeah, right. He's got a little hack job going. I think he's good. about 25, 30 minutes of really bright, really positive soccer. Some of the best we've played, definitely starting to see flashes, starting to see signs of what's going to be going on with, the BJ Callahan era. And crazily enough, like one of the key elements of why we were looking so good was this new midfielder we signed, Australian kid from, I believe he came out of like the Norwegian league, but he's Australian, Patrick Yazbak, new center midfielder. And he is looking like exactly like the type of player we were missing, the profile of player we were missing, a midfielder who can make progressive passes, who can make line breaking passes, get the ball to Hani Mukhtar in the box in danger spots, find those through balls that we're not able to hit, no more sideways, backwards, and then hopeful crosses, is actually like progressive, good passing. 34, 35 minutes into the match, everybody freezes, everybody stops. There's this weird pause. The ref brings the two captains together, has a discussion with them, brings the two coaches together, has a discussion with them. The delay, the pause kind of continues to go on. We don't really know what's happening. I was in the stadium. You can go back and watch the vlog from that. I was kind of live speculating, live commentating on what I was seeing. Come out of the pause, it ended up being like about felt like an 8-9 minute delay. And Nashville SC subs off Patrick Yazbak. It's like immediately I'm like, okay, I'm a referee, and I also follow the game. I know what we just saw here was a situation where he was probably accused of something. The ref didn't hear it, so the ref could not take any action. But Nashville SC was essentially asked, hey, it might be in your best interest to remove this player, and we did. Brought on, I want to get his name right because I think I've messed it up every time I said it on the channel. We brought on the winger that we just brought over from LA Galaxy in loan deal, Jonathan Perez. He came on and he was the bright spot that we had for the rest of the match. Looked really good, but we sort of lost the control that we were having with, Yaz back in midfield. Those progressive passes, those line breaking passes weren't coming through anymore. It's back to the old Nashville SC of sideways passes, backwards passes, and then hitting hopeful crosses in the box that ultimately find nobody. Since come out, that there was an allegation that he used some type of, Yazbak used some type of inappropriate language. Nashville SC removed him. MLS has conducted an investigation. They have determined he did use some form of inappropriate language, and he was given a 2-match suspension. So he is out for tonight's match against Orlando and our next match, which is, I think, like 2 weeks away, and I don't even know against who, which is, disappointing from a, sporting perspective because he was giving us something we didn't have, and it looked like it might be a thing that could help us maybe move in the right direction. But more disappointing from just like, you don't want whatever that was, whatever that type of behavior, whatever that type of language was. You don't want that as a part of your team, part of your club, part of your organization. Haven't really gotten a clear answer to what was said, what was the nature of what was said. There's certainly some roads you could go down with speculation of what would lead to a suspension. 2 games doesn't feel like it was super severe, but, sports don't have the best history of attacking things like, racism and homophobia and properly punishing them. So who knows? There was certainly a thing going around amongst the Nashville SC fan community and like even people outside the community that what he apparently was believed to have said was CUNT, see you next time, which I watching the Premier League, watching English soccer, watching world soccer, that has to be said in every single match. So to me, like, I can't imagine that's all it was. It had to have been like some other wrinkle, some other thing to it. I don't know. Haven't got any clarification on it. But that was kind of going around. There was actually like some funny stuff where like he's an Australian international. He's played for the Australian national team. So there's Australian fans like commenting on the Twitter post from MLS and commenting on the Twitter post from Nashville SC about it, going, "Oh, you're so weak. You're so that's British. Oh, shrimp on the barbie. You're so weak. You're so soft. You are CUNTs for not being okay with that word." But other people, I've seen one thing. Let me find it. I saved it just so I can bring it up here. There was one person. Let me see. CC. Do I have it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? This is good video. Video. Where is it? All right. So This is Vince Rugari. I had no idea who this is. It was reposted by an account that has a lot of followers, a lot of backing. So I would assume that person trusts this person's insight here. He said, I've made some inquiries, and unfortunately, he didn't say what Twitter thinks he said. I don't know exactly what he said, but I'm aware of the category of what he said, and a suspension is right. He'll learn from this, which once again, even in that statement, which, he knows the category, he knows the suspension right. He said he's learned from this. He seems to know more than what we know, and he's not, coming down on like ban him from the league, kick him out of the league. This is unforgivable. So it's like, what was it? How bad could it have been? It certainly seems like it was bad, but the level, we don't know. We'll never 100% know, but, hopefully it's a learning moment. Hopefully everybody can recover from it. Hopefully everybody can, move forward and do what needs to be done to put this behind us and make right any wrongs that were made wrong. And he can come back into the team, because he definitely, in the short time we've had him, has looked like a kind of player that we desperately need. But kind of flipping back to Jonathan Perez, who came on for him, he looks like another player that we could like really use, an actual like another quick, pacey, good on the ball attacking winger, like to pair with Schaffelberg on the other side, like him on one side, Schaffelberg on the other side, with a Patrick Yazbak, Hani Mukhtar in midfield. And, if we can find a decent number 6, Godoy or Drew Yearwood, starts to sort of look a little bit more competent. The Sam Surge question is still out there. Like, it's weird because he's had flashes, he's had good moments, but he has just these long stretches where he just disappears in games. And I don't really know if that's a him thing. I don't know if he's not getting into the right spots to be active and play and to get on the ball. I don't know if we're not finding him enough. It's bizarre. I don't know what it is, but there's just weird long stretches where he's just not involved in the games. And that's not ideal for one of your 3 key players to just not ever be involved in games for long stretches of time. So that's got to get figured out. But I don't know. It's weird. It's weird because there's these flashes, these momentary things where it's like, okay, maybe we're heading in the right direction. Maybe some things are clicking. Maybe some things are getting right. Then you have this removal of Yazbak, subsequently 2-game suspension, and the team kind of fell back into their old ways for the most part after that, ended up losing that match 2-0. It's going to be a rough stretch of the season. I was kind of like going through while I was making a run the other day and kind of thinking through the roster of who should stay, who should go. And I'm not going to get into that today. That'll probably be like a season wrap-up thing where I go player by player through the roster, like who needs to go, who needs to stay. But I will harp on one player, unfortunately, and I hate to do this because I like him. I like his style of play. He's the type of player I was as a player. I think he's the type of player you need in your squad. But Alex Muil starts every game for Nashville SC, and that is a crime against humanity because he's gritty dude, worked his butt off. He's going to cover every blade of grass. He's got a good, mind. He's got a good knowledge of the game. He finds himself in the right spots. He gets good positionings, but skill level is so lacking that it just brings everything down around him. He's a guy you'd want to have as a depth piece, somebody you can throw out there if you need him, but he's through injuries, international duties, other things, he's ended up starting every game for Nashville SC this season, just about, it feels like, and that's not a recipe for success. Like, I don't know if there's a way to track this stat, but I feel like once a game this season, he's somehow been the player who gets on the end of our best scoring chance in a match. And he always like blasted into the upper deck or completely whiffs, completely miss. It's crazy. Like, I hate to hate on him because, like I said, that's what I was as a player. I was never the most skilled guy in the field, never was the most athletic, but I was going to work my butt off. I was going to cover every blade of grass. I was going to read the game. I was going to understand the game. I was going to be able to make sure my positioning was right because I had to do that stuff to overcompensate for my lacking in other areas. And that's the type of player he is. But, at this level, that was me starting at like single A, small school, high school ball, starting at the professional level. That's, a guy you want in your squad, but maybe not starting in every single match. So I won't harp on the whole squad, but that's just, it's become a recurring theme. I have to get it off my chest. Apologies to Alex Muil, but my head drops every time I see his name on the starting 11, just sadly. Like I said, love the guy. I think he's an important part of the team, but it's much more exciting to think of Schaffelberg and Jonathan Perez on the wings and competent midfielders in the midfield and him on the bench available if we need him. But sadly, he will likely be starting. I think he probably will start in center midfield tonight because I think unless I'm missing somebody, I think Anibal Godoy is our only healthy, available, natural central midfielder. Drew Yearwood hurt, Sean Davis hurt, Leal hurt, Yazbak suspended. So it's almost going to have to be Muil dropping into the two-man midfield with Godoy, which would make me think we're going to put Perez on one wing, Schaffelberg on the other, unless we're going to put like Teal or Sam on a wing and the other is striker, which is a possibility. We're to the point where, like, honestly, I wish, because one of the big things, one of the big selling points for BJ Callahan coming in, why he was going to be the new hire, is that his track record of developing young players, helping them break into the first team of, whether it be the U.S. national team, the Philadelphia Union, places he's been. Why not? I'm sure there's a concern that if you throw them out there too early, it can stunt their development. But I mean, why not throw like an Isaiah Jones out? If we're like so thin at midfield at this point in time, we're like so out of competent actual potential midfielders. Give him a start. He's gotten a few minutes. He's come off the bench a couple times. Start Isaiah Jones. I beg you. Please no more Alex Muil, especially in center mid. That's his worst spot. Of all the spots he plays, wing, he's semi-competent, wing back, right back. He can do a job there. Center mid of all the spots that Alex Muil has had to fill in over the course of the season is by far the worst. Let's start Isaiah Jones. Let's bring up Adem Sibic. Let's have him on the bench. Let's see if he can get a go, if he can do things. Not a lot to look forward to tonight for Nashville SC. I would certainly project a loss. Don't much think Orlando is going to have much trouble with whatever version of Nashville SC shows up. But we'll see. Like I said, we're going to go to what should be a fun watch party. Should be a cool night. Should be at least fun, even if Nashville SC doesn't play well. We're to the point in the season where, like, I'm so down, I'm so dejected that, like, I'm probably going to be able to have fun and not let the result actually just ruin the night. Whereas, like, when your expectations are high, when you're hoping the season's going to be really good, and you're just like fired up, it's like you lose, you just don't want to be anybody, don't want anybody talking, you just want to leave. Like tonight, I'll be like, oh man, we lost. Well, this is a cool place for hanging out at. Let's just keep hanging out. Hopefully, I say that. But I'll use that to transition to something I am kind of looking forward to that I do still have that level of hope for, and that's the NFL season, specifically the Tennessee Titans. Richard had asked, will you do your NFL game bets for the season? They were fun. Yeah, like I said, I'm tentatively hoping I've got, some of my off-camera stuff figured out to the point where I can pretty steadily get back to doing regular live streams. And I will, try to do as many, bets, predictions, stuff like that I can. Like last season, I basically went through every NFL game every week and did my pick on the spread. And I'm going to probably do that again. And I actually had a couple pretty solid weeks. I don't know what my final season tally was, but I want to say I was probably close to like 55%, somewhere in that range. Maybe we'll see. But yeah, if I can get the live streams back up and keep them going, I'll definitely be adding the NFL picks into that. And especially with kind of the excitement that I'm trying to temper it, but I do have a degree of hype, a degree of excitement for the Titans this season. PJ Gaming in the chat asked, what is your opinion on BJ? It's too early to tell. I think, going back to Nashville, see a little bit here, but I think I've seen enough. You've heard all good things. His track record, his background, his history. That's all we really have to go on now. I don't think, it's been 3 games he's managed for Nashville SC or anything to really draw anything from, because it's not his squad. It's not his players. It's, he's having to make, do with what he can with the group that he's got. So it's going to be hard to assess him like, this season. If he can get a little spark, if he can get a little something going, which he kind of felt like he did have going at the start of the Austin game before all the other stuff happened. I think that's going to be the goal for this season. And, next season, when we see what changes come to the roster, we'll have a better picture of what BJ's vision is next season. So I don't know, like short of like the whole season falling apart and we lose every game like 6-0 going out the stretch, like I don't think you can fully judge BJ yet, just because it's such a weird deal to come into the season. But his background, his history, some of the comments that people like Greg Berhalter and Jim Curtin, the Philadelphia coach, have had about him are certainly encouraging. So we'll give him a chance, we'll give him time. We'll come back and assess once we've had a larger sample sizes. Club and Country USA would love to say. But Titans first game next week. at Chicago. Another one, much like the Orlando game tonight, would have been a great away day. Chicago is a fabulous city. I took a trip there about 10 years ago. Great. It was a short weekend trip. I wish I had more time up there because, especially in the summer, this time of year, the weather up there is great where it's not too hot, not too cold. This would have been a great time to go up there. But, like, once again, life gets in the way sometimes. And when I mean life, I mean tickets for that game are like, I think the cheapest get-in price is around $300+ because that is first overall draft pick, Caleb Williams, rookie debut for the Bears. A lot of hype, a lot of hope around him. We have that too here with the Titans, and I'm sure I'll talk more in depth about them next week as we head into the game and more specifically. But it's kind of hard, like looking at this offseason, looking at what the team's done to really find a flaw, to say, oh, I wish they'd done this or I wish they'd done that. I think maybe so we just brought in a new, really good linebacker to kind of strengthen the linebacker core. I mean, probably the one area you'd look at that they really didn't try to address or try to do something with was pass rush. And we've upgraded the secondary so much and we've upgraded the linebacker core so much that you kind of think maybe that'll take care of the pass rush itself. Maybe that in itself will help the pass rush. I don't know. But I mean, definitely, on paper, it feels like this team has made some major upgrades across the board. And I feel like people are kind of sleeping on us. Maybe it's just battered Titan syndrome, stealing that from my battered Heron guys, that we just always feel like nobody respects us. Nobody gives us the credit we do. But like the funny thing is, like, if you look at like the national media accounts and the national media reports, a lot of the stuff that they're like holding against the Titans is like based on last season. And I think if you look at how much we've turned the roster over, we only have something like 12, 13 players, maybe a few more from last season on this roster. It is basically an almost entirely new roster. Like everybody's still citing, their offensive line is terrible. Well, we drafted a monster of a man with our first overall pick. We signed the best available center in free agency who is, pretty solid in his time in Denver. We've got a second-year first-round pick on left guard. Right side line, maybe a little bit of question marks there still with Radens and NPF holding on that side of it. But, I mean, people are just like, this offensive line got Will Levis and Ryan Tannehill killed all last year. It's like, well, we've changed it. There's new people in place. We also hired the, guru of offensive line coaching and Bill Callahan to be our offensive line coach. So and there was like a funny one, that was talking about how much how bad the Titans secondary was last year. And it was like, it's like a Twitter account was like, Caleb Williams is going to cook in week 1. And it's like, we have 4 new starters in the secondary and probably 3 more depth pieces behind them that are brand new. It's not the same team as last year. Now, I'm not saying we're going to go out and win a Super Bowl. I'm not saying we're going to make the playoffs, but the people who are putting us in the conversation amongst for worst record, who's going to have the first overall pick, Shedeur Sanders to the Titans. I don't think we're going to be that bad. I mean, middle of the pack is probably what I'm thinking for us this season. But I'm pretty sure we're on the list of teams that Deion Sanders is he's quote unquote already said, it's going to be an Eli. He's not going to let Shedeur or Travis Hunter go into certain teams. And should he have that control? Should he have that power? Probably not. But I would guess the Titans are probably on the list of teams that Deion's not looking at for his boys. So don't mock Shedeur Sanders to the Titans because they'll do whatever they can do to make that not happen. But I also don't think we're going to be that bad. I could see us, people are once again overhyping the Colts. I don't know why every season the Colts just get so much love, but they've sucked since Andrew Luck retired. I think they're going to suck again because I don't think Anthony Richardson is any good. But I mean, talk about Anthony Richardson, you have to talk about Will Levis, and that is the big question mark for us. I mean, that is ultimately, I think, what it's going to be. The make or break for this season for the Titans is Will Levis any good? And I feel like the people in the building, Rand Carthon, Brian Callahan, they must think he is. Is how much they've invested and made this a win now roster versus just a patch it together and we'll reset when we get the chance roster. I get the feeling they think they're seeing something that makes them think Will Levis is the guy. I don't know. Because you don't know if you can trust their judgment. You can trust anybody's judgment. It's all a crapshoot till they get on the field. But I'm excited. I do have, unfortunately, high level of optimism for this season, which is inevitably going to not work out well, probably in the end. But we'll see what happens. We'll have a lot of game day vlogs, season ticket holder for the Titans. So everything goes according to plan. We'll be at, I think should be all 8 home games. Get some good vlogs there. I'll probably do some live streams throughout the season, maybe some watch alongs if we're, home for games, things like that. Will you chill out? Just lay down, take a nap, go night-night. I'm going to go night-night. We've talked a lot here. We've got through some stuff, kind of rambled. It was fun to get back on and do a live stream for the first time in a while. Like I said, hopefully, tentatively, get these going back more regularly, but I've said that in the past and haven't been able to keep up with it. So I'm not going to make promises I can't keep, but watch this space, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell on for notifications so you do get alerted when live streams do occur. And we'll try to get a few more of these out, try to get some picks. Like I said, with Richard Greenberg, we'll get my NFL picks out throughout the season. Maybe drop in some college picks. I haven't really, I love college football, but I don't nearly follow it as closely as I do like NFL or like pro soccer. So I don't really have as many, like I was watching Vandy, love Vandy. They're my favorite team, but I couldn't name you a single player on Vandy before this game started today. So the idea of me betting or making any predictions based on them would be 100% based on history, which for Vandy is terrible, but got a dub today, got the win, 1-0. Vandy. You can see that graphic that somebody's going to put out on Monday morning. Like this post if your team is one of the teams that's still undefeated, and it's going to be all the pictures of all the logos, and Vandy's going to be one of them, at least for this week. So we'll see what happens going forward. Appreciate anybody that tuned in for the live stream. Appreciate anybody that's watching this on replay. Appreciate anybody that watches any of my stuff, because it's mostly just me rambling and yelling at the clouds, but it's fun for me. I like to share my thoughts and ramble. So thanks for watching. That's it for this one. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your bagels. We'll see you next time.